Welcome to the Middle of Podcast. This is a podcast about the journey of life with me, your host, Marco Kadzianike, or Marco underscore Kads on Instagram. And today I have got three. Yeah, that's more than the normal number, but we've got three guests with us today. Today's episode is a bit different from the other ones we do because it's very like learning about someone, but we're learning about three different people in one go. And these are pastors' children or pastors' kids. The thing about the word kids is there was a pastor once who was preaching at church and said the word kid refers to ghost children. So I was like, I'm gonna call myself a child now. Yeah. But like PKs, pastors' kids, pastors' children, and I will have them introduce themselves. I think we'll just start with Lemmy here and we'll come this way.
Alright, so I'm Lemuel Magumise, on my name, Instagram.
Yeah.
And you can follow me at lemuel.mag.
My name is Charmaine and you can follow me on Sharmzy or her proverb.
My name is Tapiwa Victory Manika, and you can follow me at Miss Tori Makeup or at Miss Tori underscore Tori with 3 Ys.
Yes? Number of the Trinity. No, and yeah, which churches do you guys go to?
So I go to Bardell Community Church, BCC for short, and it's under Faith Ministries.
Celebration Ministries International.
I go to Out for Christ Ministries International, incorporating Living Word Churches International.
Dope. I go to Faith Ministries. So we go to I go to Faith Ministries. I attend the one in Avondale, so it's Center Church, but it's Faith Ministries as well. Yeah. And today we're just going to be talking about our experiences as pastors' children. I think we all became PKs at different points. Some were born as PKs, others somewhere along the journey. And I think every individual being different, I'm sure all of our experiences as PKs has been very different as well. Yeah. We asked for questions as well, so we'll be addressing some of the questions you guys asked. And yeah. So, how long have you been a PK for?
Since I was born. I was born into the whole
shebang.
Wow. Yeah.
Nice. Are you the firstborn? Second? What are you?
I'm the third out of 5.
Third of 5
girls. So blessings on blessings.
Oh,
That's
powerful.
That's like you, huh?
Well, I'm the first of 5.
Yeah.
All girls, huh?
Yeah, all girls.
The cows are coming home.
Let them go.
Oh my days. Okay, cool. Well, now we know that you're the first of 5.
Yes.
No need to ask you.
No need to ask that.
And you, Lemmy?
I'm the last born of two boys.
Can you really say the last born of 2? Because
It's only first and last.
No, nothing. So when you just say I'm number 2.
I'm the last born. Okay. The last born of 2 boys.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
No, that's dope. I am the first of 3 boys.
Wow.
All boys. And all boys. You know the ones. And yeah. So I think us being PKs, I think one of the things that I just like for you to briefly say what has been your experience like. Have you guys been at the same church the whole time? Sophie, have you been going to OFCI the whole time?
Yes, that's been my church since day 1.
All right. And for you?
And Celebration has definitely been my church since day 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Since you're Jarwan.
Yeah.
You were born.
Yeah, my parents got married into the church.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, so
Okay. All right. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. And for you?
Yeah, I've always been Faith Ministries.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a time we went to the city church, then we went to City Restoration, became City Restoration.
Mm-hmm.
Then we did come over to Bardell Community Church, so
Okay.
but still Faith Ministries.
So you've been under Faith Ministries, but you've done transitioned from congregation to congregation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Or I think some people call congregations assemblies.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. For me, similar vibes. So for me, my also okay. So I think you have not to say different pastors, but different pastors, so to say, because you can be like a pastor of a congregation. You could be like a pastor of like an overseer would be a pastor as well, right?
Yeah.
And then you've got some churches call them bishops, or they have different titles, right? So with your father, he's the pastor of
My dad is the apostle, so he's like the founder.
Hey, Janafo, Mawani. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
so
Yeah.
he's actually referred to as Apostle Manika.
Okay.
And then my mom is Pastor Manika. So
Okay.
my dad is just there. Yeah, and
Okay.
he's the founder as well
Alright.
of the church. Yeah.
That's dope. That's
Mhm.
dope. And for you?
My dad was an FOC pastor. He moved to Mount Pleasant Church, and then we eventually moved back to Bardale, but they've been pastors for 13 years now.
Does FOC mean?
The one that you said, the other side. You said it.
Overseer?
Like
Oh,
overseeing
an
another
overseer
church.
type.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You said
okay,
it
okay.
like, but it's okay. You said the actual phrase for FOC, like what
Oh,
FOC,
for real?
but my brain just.
Oh, crazy.
It's okay.
Who
It's
knew?
okay. We'll just,
Okay,
we'll
cool.
just go with it. FOC.
Yeah.
And for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, he used to be like the pastor of restoration,
Uh-huh.
and then he's now just a pastor, I guess. Like
Yeah.
UCC, yeah.
Okay, cool. Alright, cool. I think for me, my dad is. he was initially a pastor of a congregation in Epworth, right? And then he became pastor or an overseer,
Overseer.
and then now he's the senior pastor of Faith Ministries in Galway.
Powerful.
So
That's powerful.
That's powerful.
Living
Lord,
up,
yeah, level up.
Yeah.
Hey, sorry, not that song. Oh.
Jeez.
Lord.
Yeah.
So, okay, cool. And what have been your experiences as PK? So, like, what has that journey been like for you? And like, if you could just give like a general sort of like overview of what that's been like, and then we could maybe go more in depth.
Hey, I mean, it's. I can't say, I've never not been a pastor's kid, so
Uh-huh.
like, I can't really give a contrast. But I mean, it's been okay. The general pressures of being a pastor's kid, people looking at what you do, how you do things. But in general, it's been alright. I mean, it's been my life,
So you don't know anything
I
else?
don't know anything else.
Alright.
But it's been okay. Yeah.
Still. And for you, Charmaine?
I think life changed completely. So my parents became pastors in 2010,
Okay.
and we moved from Bardale, which was like comfort zone. All my friends were like there, and then we went to this like very small church that they were starting, and it was so different for me. Now like all eyes were on me. So if I did anything bad, it was like Charmaine, one of our pastors, she did that, and
Did
like
people actually say that?
oh yes.
That's
What?
it.
It's like the minute you walk out the door, it's just like, okay, let's do this.
Let's go. Let's go.
But I think my parents became more strict when they became pastors. I feel like
Okay.
life before that, like I was just living as a kid and enjoying life.
Mhm.
But the minute they became pastors, it was like, now we have to be strict. Like everything that you do is like under a microscope.
Mhm.
So yeah, it was tough.
It's I forgot the exact verse, but this verse is like they're like you should be like I guess a pastor at home first
Yeah.
before outside, and if you can't control your home, then
Yeah.
how more can you lead others as well?
I know
So
my
it's
parents
just things
control.
like
They
that.
controlled the home.
You're on lockdown, bro.
On lockdown.
For sure.
You're not allowed to do anything.
Yeah.
You had to breathe with permission at this point.
You breathe
Reading
the
scripture, dog.
Oh.
Say, no,
No,
read the
you
scripture.
can't do
brother.
that.
Oh
But it's
my
interesting because like my little siblings grew up with a different version of my parents. Like now
Okay.
they're more chilled and laid back. But with me, I
Was
know
strict.
there was no.
I mean, you're the firstborn, so
Yeah.
Yeah,
the pressure's on you all the time.
Mhm.
that part.
And for you, Victory?
I'm same as Lemmy. It's all I've ever known. But I think the great thing is I come from a very like tight family unit. We talk
Mhm.
about everything. So even if there's pressures and stuff, we have like regular family meetings and stuff. So I think it's okay. Like for me, it's all I've ever known. So
Yeah, so you're like
I
good
dog,
dog,
like
You don't know what life is
Ah,
like
that's
on the
what
other
we
side.
are.
Yeah.
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 Mm.
I think for me it's a bit different because again it's almost all I've known, although they've been pastors. I think they were ordained as pastors when I was 3.
Yeah.
Mm.
So realistically,
Yeah.
like 1 to 3, what did I know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's a bit different, I think, for me.
Yeah.
Compared to this whole microscope. My parents' biggest thing was, or is, that they don't want people to put pressure on us.
Yeah.
So their thing was like, people like, it's a pastor, I'll tell the pastor.
Yeah.
And my parents are like, dog, like, ignore
No,
that.
it's
Like,
not
that's got
like
nothing
that,
to do with
yeah.
them. And I think the thing that they've sort of tried to tell or teach the 3 of us is that they're the pastors and not us.
Mm.
So as much as, yes, we do need to behave and we do need to whatever, it's them. You know, they're the ones who are the leaders, who are the pastors, and when people try to put pressure on us to be a certain way, our parents like, dude, like if we didn't tell you to do that, then don't do it, sort of thing. So is there pressure? I think the only time that I did feel a bit of pressure was going from overseer to senior pastor, because it's not like because he had been like the lead pastor of a church.
Yeah.
Then he had been overseer of like, so we have in fact we've got like zone. Excuse me, we've got zones, right?
Yeah.
So like the zones are like northern, southern, eastern, western zone.
Yeah.
So he was of the northern zone. So it was still very chill. But when he became senior pastor, there was sort of like this like, oh, he's pastor, and they didn't put the pressure. Neither did people, but there was this thing of like, oh, so like the whole of the Zim ones?
Yeah.
What? Oh,
It's mad.
Okay.
As
more
someone
pressure.
here is Kadziani kid, they probably just like, you know.
but I think the fact that we grew up being told that pressure, they might tire. Do you know what I mean? Like pressure, they might tire, dog. Like we just grew up being told like, don't feel pressure. It wasn't too hectic. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we fortunately when they were ordained as pastors, there were different pastors from different congregations and churches and whatever who came. So you had people like the Chidi Series, and their sign was like, dude, like if you ever need help, like I'm here to talk to you. So you then have other people who are like, hey, like we can walk through it together. And unfortunately, it hasn't been too much for me at least. But there have been moments when people are like, and I look at them and I'm like, so.
I don't think my parents ever put pressure.
Yeah.
But it's like they also want you to understand that God doesn't just play around. So if God put you in this family, you also have a role to play somehow.
That's good.
Yeah.
So they're not saying you also have to now become a pastor or you also have to be a pastor per se, but we serve an intentional God.
Yeah.
So if He put you in this family that is about ministry, you also have a part to play someday. But
Yeah.
I've never felt pressure from my parents. They support all my other dreams. I even wanted to be a rapper once. Wow.
Come on.
You know, my dad literally helped me write my first rap song. I don't know.
Hey! Bali M. Sorry, Apostle.
Apostle.
Hey, do you want Apostle? That's how you can't call him a Bali.
I tried playing the drums once. He bought me my first drum kit.
Come
I'm a
on.
makeup artist, and I think makeup can be a bit like it was at some point controversial, in
Especially with the recent
Yeah.
happenings.
yeah. But I don't think I've ever felt direct pressure. But they
Yeah.
just want you to understand that one day you have to like open yourself up to God's plan for you, and this will definitely be a part of it somehow.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So that sort of leads me on to, you know how like being a PK, there's a way you have to carry yourself and present yourself.
Yeah.
And I think as any human being, there's a way you do, but there definitely is like you said, there's a bigger spotlight on PKs and stuff. Do you guys feel like that has sort of like shaped how you are in one place compared to another? So for example, I mean you've got like earrings on over there, you know.
Yeah.
I used to wear a lot of jewelry in general. Like I
Yeah.
used to wear I had like bracelets. I'd like wear 2, 3 in one go. I've got a black ring. I had like silver ones, and just like in general, where some people are like, yee, you know, and things like, for example, some people go to church in like shorts and t-shirts, and that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But do you find, like for you, like, do you think
Yeah.
you could like leave cabins, like
Shorts
home,
and-
in like on a Sunday? Do you think that has shaped how you conduct yourself at church?
Yeah.
And then does it also change how you conduct yourself outside of church?
I can answer that.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I think it does. It has changed. Like, you do think a lot about how you present yourself and how you carry yourself, even when you're not outside. And it's mainly due to the fact that my dad is a pastor and my parents are pastors.
Yeah.
And I know they could accept some things, right? Like, let's say they're okay with me wearing earrings. Right?
Mhm.
But if I come to church now and people look at me wearing earrings, they'll not say, hey, Anna, let me see, this is that.
Yeah.
And like, you kind of like running their image as pastors. So you do, at the back of my head, it's always there saying, you also got to represent the family as a whole. You know?
Yeah.
So do you think that? Sorry, do you think that's from? That's not from your parents. That's more so from other people.
Oh, yeah, it's most people, and it's from other people because my parents are pastors. You get it?
Yeah,
so like
yeah,
they're gonna
yeah.
look at my parents saying this just because
When
they're
I was-
pastors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
If my parents weren't pastors, that kind of pressure wouldn't be there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, yes. I will say in high school, I felt like I was living two different lives. Like
Mhm.
the life that my parents saw, and then the life that my friends and like they got to
Charmaine,
experience.
the hype of Charmaine.
Oh my
You
goodness.
gotta go
The
on
hype of
episode without
Charmaine.
saying that. The hype of Charmaine.
And
Enough of the
and
hype.
this is when you
Enough of
end
the
the
hype.
video, and we cut it. We skipped to commercial, and we're
Enough
done.
of the hype
And
of
we're done.
Charmaine.
And then
I don't know how.
Trust me.
I'm not gonna go too in depth, right?
Oh my god!
But-
I know you're going to one day.
The hype of Charmaine. There's no way I was going to do a
Oh my
podcast
goodness.
episode. Next time when you're on, I won't mention it. Okay, I might. But
You
I won't-
definitely. I was like.
But so there was the general hype, right? People, you know, like when you're getting to like meet other people in high school. Let's say like 16ish.
Yeah.
That's when you sort of like realize, oh, they're other schools.
Yeah.
Right? And you're like, oh, we can all be friends.
Yeah.
Cool. And you're going to youth and all this other stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's when people found out about Charmaine being like existing.
Yeah.
Right. I think I'd known her earlier on. A lot of people
Yeah,
knew
when
her
we were
earlier
kids,
on.
but, like,
yeah.
yeah.
But a lot of people were just like, okay, whatever. Then people discovered, Charmaine,
Yeah.
and she's fresh.
Yeah.
Then there was like a whole hype about
Yeah.
like, you know, Charmaine, whatever.
I feel like the hype was only at John's.
No, it wasn't.
Maybe John's
no,
and
it was.
George's. But, like-
I think that's where it started, but it became a thing, right? And things like there being a hype. Did your parents know that they were like
They don't even
little
I think
teenage
they watched
boys?
This will be the first time that they'll even hear that there was one time.
And she didn't do anything. Like
Yeah.
it's just like she did not
Yeah.
change her life. She did not prompt anything.
Yeah.
It's not like she became anyone for the
Yeah.
hype to start. People just like were like, oh,
Discovered her, basically.
Charmaine, and they were like, oh my gosh, Charmaine. Like she had like a little fan club, if you want to say that.
Yeah. It
Like,
was,
did your parents know that there was a hype?
no, they don't. They and God.
I guess
was-
they're gonna find
now
out
they're
now.
about to find out about the hype.
I'm sorry, there are gonna be lots of questions.
But like little things like that, like
Mm.
even when I went to John's or to George's or to games, like for them, like they would always ask me like, why are you going? Who are you going to see? Why are you going to all these boys' schools? Then I would have to go to like sleepovers or to like a friend's house. Like I would be like at Anu's house and it's like, oh okay, oh I know Kumbako Anu, but like, they don't really know that
Yeah.
at Anu's house there was John's versus George's. or there was the John's fair. Like all these little things. I think I only started asking when I was like 17. That's when I started like getting
When
a
you got
little
some
bit of
confidence,
courage. But
yeah.
before that, no, like no, they did not know at all.
Yeah.
So
But-
do you think that was because of your parents per se, or was it also because you knew like
How your parents are.
people around you and stuff?
I think both.
Okay.
So it wasn't even just about my parents, because I know before they even became pastors, it was just like you
Yeah.
have to like carry that up. And
Yeah.
my grandpa was like the first dentist in Zim, so it was like all these little things where it's like where you go, like everyone's gonna say, we know you, we know your parents, we know your
Yeah,
grandparents. So like you can't mess around. You can't go to like John's versus George's wearing shorts.
And you're
then
just
they're
like,
"Mano, pastor, take off my shorts." So it's like you had to always have that in your mind that okay, I cannot dress like this, I cannot say certain things, I cannot be seen listening to this music or just
hear you.
everything, like all together. You had to carry yourself as a Christian whether you were at church or you weren't. So
Mhm.
it was tough.
Yeah. I think,
Yeah.
you're in?
Yeah, I think, okay, by nature, I'm a very reserved, keep to myself type of person. And I
Mhm.
think that often came across as, I know Vaira, because one hour apostle type of thing. So I intentionally started trying to step out of my box. Like, but by doing that, I think, I don't know, you kind of lose yourself because that's not actually who
You
wanna
are,
be.
yeah.
But I think generally I'm a very strong-minded person, so I've never really been under pressure. Even when I tried to be shady, I couldn't be shady. Like,
Yeah.
there's a time I actually went out.
I felt that
Yeah.
personally.
Because
Yeah.
it's just not me. I went
Yeah.
out this one time and my mom actually didn't give me a curfew. But by 6, I was like, Mom, I want to come home. I was just, I don't know, because That's just who you
Yeah,
are now. That's
I feel that.
Yeah, but I've never felt pressure from people to be a certain. Even if the pressure was there, I feel like just how I am, I don't give in to pressure very easily. So I just continue doing what I do. Yeah, type of thing.
No, on graduation day, my aunt came to me like in front of everyone. She said this whole speech, and she's like, "Charmaine, we're applying pressure." Like that was literally her speech. Like we are.
Well, no
applying
pressure then.
And it's like, thank you. Like, I just graduated. Like this should be the one day where like everyone's like, yeah, but she's like, no, we're applying pressure. You have all these like little kids looking at you. We're applying, and I'm just like, pressure has always been. Like, it's like, oh, thank you, thank you for the pressure. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's very interesting. I think for me, it's also been a bit of like stuff where parents didn't like. My parents never like, oh, you should do this because he's looking. You know what I mean? I don't think any of our parents are sort of, at least from the chats we've had. But it's very much like I said. The whole time I really didn't care. I think when they then became senior pastor, and they themselves said like, you guys just continue living though you've been living. But I think there definitely is that thing where like, if I go visit a congregation without my parents being there and you introduce yourself, we're laughing at my parents because I was saying I don't say my surname when I introduce myself at a new congregation just because like I want to be treated the same. So for example, if I go to a new congregation and I'm just like, I just want to go like visit this congregation today, and or like let's say we go for like a young adults thing or like a youth thing or whatever, I go and I say, hi, I'm Marco. Marco Bakomborero.
Yeah.
Right? They're like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And like you have the whole young adults thing, like let's say for example, and like it's fun, it's vibes. But you find when you say your surname,
That's when
it's
you get treated
people will be like, they then don't say certain things that they might say normally because they're like,
now they
you
feel
know,
pressure themselves, which is weird. But
and sometimes you're just sharing and it can be nothing deep. It can just be like sharing conversations about what goes on in their lives on a day to day. But you see that because you said your surname, people are like, hey, I can't say everything, you know. So it's those things that I think then like when you then go out there like then weary like, okay, I won't say my surname, I'll just say my name so that I can actually like relate better with everyone. Because there is that, for example, if you have to be like, and then it's like, oh, okay. Or like, alright. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, but like if you just appear as Victory, people will be like, oh, hi, how are you doing? Welcome. You know? So there's also like the flip side where but have you had any like advantages of from being a
like have you guys ever like experienced special treatment? Especially at church and whatnot.
When we go to like conferences and stuff, there's actually a room. No, like everyone else who eats like where they eat. We have what we call high table.
Hey, I want to come visit your church. I'm your visitor. Your VIP.
So we would eat at the high table with other pastors and like our parents and stuff. So like, I don't know. I think when I was younger, I didn't like it because if we're at a conference and I'm playing with kids, then someone comes and gets you and says, "Stop in down high."
And you're
table.
like, "Doc, I'm just trying to play."
Just trying to play. Now, I don't mind it, but I don't like it when people make it like so obvious. Because there's this one time we were at a conference, and it was like the end of the conference, and they were like, "Okay, taste it kumba now, but." Vanava posto kune food we high table food. Like I was like, okay, they didn't have to announce it.
Oh, it was an announcement.
Yes, then everyone was like, to show that there's that special treatment. And I was like, they could have just come to us one-on-one personally, like, okay, we've got something for you over there. Like you don't need to make everyone know that that's what's happening. So I had conferences. Sometimes I even get ushered into church and stuff, but I don't know.
I need to go to church with you.
I know.
I'm you know what I'm saying? Like, yo.
But it's more now that I'm older because now I try to be active in ministry. So I think now people kind of know. Also at our church, they do make it very clear that these are the pastor's kids. They pray for us, even in prayer requests and stuff. So I actually can't go to a congregation, to a new assembly and just be like, I'm Vicky and they don't know me. They'll most probably know me, right? Oh, even if they don't know me, the pastor will be like, Nastina Manawa Pastor. And they'll just, and it's, I love people and I love experiencing that, but sometimes you just want to sit
backbench in a way.
So
I think that's sort of like where I appreciate sort of being able to like fade away. Like if you go into a new congregation, you can just sort of like I can just be Marco.
Yeah.
So to a lot of people, like even like the church that I like to send to church, quite a number of people like didn't know that I'm a PK.
Yeah.
So anyway, when I didn't say my surname, it was not and I'm like, dog, like
Treat
you
me the
don't
same
see
way, let's just
yourself.
be consistent,
Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, you guys then like any advantages or things where like that's a perk in a way.
Yeah.
I remember one conference, I think Pastor Chris came to the National Sports Stadium.
Yeah.
And like everyone had to get tickets like weeks in advance. And like my mom and I, like I'm like, Mom, we don't have tickets, we can't just be going. And I really wanted to go.
Yeah.
And we literally walked up the stairs all the way to the top. And then my mom just said her name. Like
Yeah.
that's all she did. She said her name to this lady. She's like, oh, okay.
Okay,
And they literally like carried us all the way to like the front. Like we literally sat in the front, and I'm just like, oh,
This is nice.
this is nice. Like like celebration. I'm just like, oh, wow, what a wow. But I think
Yeah.
that's probably the best experience I've had. It was like 60,000 people in the stadium,
a lot.
and we
Just
were
walked
right
up.
at the front
Nice.
and right next. And it was wow.
You're like, wow,
I can touch
Yeah.
And for you, Levy?
No, not me, no, bro. I'm not gonna lie. Maybe when I was younger, when they're like the main pastors at the church, but like now, no.
You know,
Life
you
is
know,
pretty much the same.
yeah.
I'm
You,
just moving.
you know what? I think for me it was very much things like conferences and stuff. You know,
Yeah.
like you knew like you would like food was secure.
Free food.
Yeah,
yes!
like you know how, or like you go to a
That's the way
wedding.
to put it.
You know what I mean? Like you go to a wedding, and like it's someone else's wedding,
Yeah.
and your parents are like, yes,
officiate,
you
yeah.
just happen, like you just happen to fit in.
You
So
have
they're
your
like,
own
hey,
food,
yeah, we've got food. Pastor, please come. We set food aside for you. And I'm like, let's
Let's
go.
go.
I'm not going wait in no queue.
No.
Let's go.
Let's go.
It's not even my wedding, but we gonna
Let's
go.
go.
Let's go. You know what I mean? So it's just,
Yeah.
I guess those are sort of like some of the like I guess benefits and stuff. And I do think it's easier to get certain things done. So for example. And I think we'll then get into this just now. But let's say like you are helping out ministry work and stuff like that. It can be easier to say, for example, we need to book a room for young adults. It can be
Yeah.
easier for me to just be like, hey, we need a room,
Yeah.
ga,
make
and
the
it's
plan for you.
sorted. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas like it may take others more time. I don't think that's usually not the case because I've almost never had to. But I'm just saying those could be some of the perks. I don't know for other PKs. If you're a PK, please also do like just comment in the section, comment section, and just like let us know some of your experiences, some advantages, and just your general experience really. I think one of the things that I do want to chat on about is like, first of all, like, what was it like for you to then decide to be like Christian for yourself? Like for you to be like, I'm a Christian, because I think we've for the most, I guess you said your dad became 2010, right? So it's been about 12 years.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing before that he didn't just become a Christian that day. He probably
Yeah.
grew up in a Christian household. Yes.
Yes.
So then my question would be, when did you then decide for yourself, one, to give your life to God, but also to be like, this is my Christian walk and not my parents' walk? Because I think that can be a blurry line when you've grown up a PK, where like
especially if you've grown up, like if you've grown up in a Christian household.
exactly
Yeah.
one
It's
Christian
like-
household and two also as a PK. I think Christian household in general, because Christianity, unlike other religions, you're not born into Christianity.
Yeah.
You just because you're born to Christian parents
Yeah.
doesn't mean you're a
That you're a
Christian.
Christian, you have to make
Yeah,
the choice.
you have to choose for yourself and give your life to God.
Yeah.
So, at what point did you, Victory, then say, Jesus, dog, like your mom, I'm gonna give my life to you, you know?
I was 16.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously before that.
16. Yee! I'm joking.
I really doesn't want to know what I was literally
No,
about
like-
to run. I was like, then I'm definitely not answering that question. I was like, banned result.
No,
No,
man,
actually, I don't think it was. I think it was more of rededicating,
Okay.
more than like I'm starting from scratch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even
'cause
if
when
it's
I was-
from scratch.
Yeah,
it's
I
okay.
know.
I'm just.
But can it be from scratch if you've grown up in the household? Like every Sunday you know, you go to church.
Yeah, but you haven't given your life to God.
No, I know, but then like you already know the whole system. Like,
Yeah, but
you know the
doesn't
Bible,
make
you
you
know
a
how to pray.
Christian.
I know,
Yeah.
but that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. It's not really from scratch. Like you can't, like at 16, there's no way you can say it's from scratch.
Yeah.
It is from scratch.
Because I had said the sinner's prayer. I done all of that.
Okay, so
stuff.
you'd
That's
given
why
your
I'm
life,
saying-
but rededicated.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
more of like
Yeah,
rededicated. I think it was just because of like you know, in high school, you just do some things you're not very proud of.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like one day my mom just came into my room and I was changing. So then she was just like, we just talked
Emily was
about
crying
it.
for
Yeah,
those who
sorry.
don't know. No, it's okay. You can go ahead.
So yeah, I was crying, and then she just like helped me. We said the sinner's prayer together, and then the following year I then got baptized, but again. So these were things I had done before, but me now being serious, where it's like, you know, put the pastor's kid aside, put all of that aside, and it's now just me, like before God. Yeah, it was definitely when I was 16, like just before O levels. So yeah.
The pressure was getting to you.
Yeah.
Jesus save me.
So, yeah.
Okay, that's dope. That's
Yeah.
dope. Charmaine?
I think I first got baptized when I was 13. Because I remember, like, as soon as we moved to the church, that's when I felt the pressure. Like, okay, now I have to, you have to be serious about Christianity now.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think I made the personal decision when I was 17 because it took me a while to get into college. And I had 2 years of a gap year where all my friends were going into all these amazing schools and I wasn't. And then my parents were like, if you want to travel, just travel, like do whatever you want to do. And I went to England with my aunt and uncle and I was living with them for a bit. And I remember so distinctly, like I was watching like the Hillsong channel because I just felt like such a horrible Christian because I hadn't been to church for so long.
Yeah.
And then Pastor Carl Lenz, he just literally started preaching, and I don't know why, but I could not stop crying. And like I felt like God literally dropped in that room at that moment, and I made the decision personally, like, okay, God, like it's just me and you now, like regardless of where I go, what I do, whether my parents are there or they're not, whether my sisters are there or not, like I want to have this relationship with you. And I felt like there was no pressure in that room. There was no one looking at me. There was no one saying, ooh, like, is she doing it the right way? But it was just me and God. And I think that's probably the moment that I can say, like, God and Charmaine was
the relationship.
That's where it happened.
I think it's dope. Like, sorry, it's a bit of a tangent, but I think
Yeah.
it's dope how God can use anyone who's also done anything in life.
Yeah.
So, for example, I'm sure most people know what's happened with Carl Lenz lately, but the fact that
Yeah.
like it's more so God's message being reached across. I know there's in the New Testament we hear about how those who are preaching about God wanting themselves to be glorified,
Yeah.
but they're preaching the word, and the Bible still says, but the word was being preached.
Yeah.
And that was the most important thing. Obviously, like,
Honestly, that
them
was
glorifying themselves as well, but
Yeah.
like the fact that, I'm not saying he was doing that in that instance
Oh, yeah,
or whatever,
but
but I'm
like-
just saying it's so dope that,
Yeah.
you know.
But even that situation, because when I found out that he had had the affair, like for me, I took it personally because I was like, you're the pastor who, like, I became like, I literally became a Christian because I watched your sermon. But like God was like, okay, were you a Christian because of him or were you a Christian because of our relationship?
That's
And
so
that's
dope.
one thing I had to look in the mirror and say, okay, God, like, hey, I'm sorry. Like, he's actually a man. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people struggle with even today, that pastors are actually people. Like, they live, they breathe, they
make
fail,
mistakes.
they sin.
Yeah.
But like I grew up in the in a house where like obviously my parents were pastors, but like once you go to college or you move away, like you don't remember that. It's like, oh, okay, like now you see all these big pastors, the Mike Todds, and you're like, oh my gosh, they're so big, but really they're still people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
I think that's so good, because do you guys see a difference between, and I know we sort of didn't answer the question you guys just did, which I've already forgot, so I'm not even going to cap.
Did you even get to learn it?
You didn't
We didn't even get to
What-
learn
what
it.
did
Do you
the
remember the
answer?
question?
What do you remember?
I don't remember the question.
I remember the question.
No,
What was
at what
it?
point did you?
Oh,
At
become a
what point,
Christian.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll ask that
Oh, yeah?
just now, but you said something really important just now that sort of has had me thinking, like, maybe we'll get to it just now, about are your parents different at home and at church, or is there a clear distinction between the two? But you can go ahead about becoming a Christian.
I'll
as
keep
well.
it short. For me, it was like really recent, probably during the lockdown period. It was 2 years ago. That's when I decided to get really serious. I was 19 at that time.
Yeah.
That's important.
Hey, look, age is okay. I was just joking. You can give your life to God at
No fault
84,
attached to
and
the
now
life
before
I
you die, and it's fine.
Yeah, but honestly, I'll say that's probably when I got more serious. I think the COVID, that period was really essential in terms of growth for a lot of areas of my life, especially my walk with Christ.
Okay.
So yeah, that's definitely.
That's dope. I think for me, it was also just one of those where it was like, I think you grow up like around a lot of Christian things, and just even like at home. I mean, I remember when we were young, like really young, we started off like would have like quiet time where at the end of the day before you sleep, like you'd sing like 2 or 3 songs.
Yeah.
They'd read a passage of, like in the Bible, or like would even like go through like a book together as a family, like the 3 of us. Well, I say as a family, one parent would lead, and then the other 3 of us would be like in bed, like listening, you know. And then obviously, my dad would be like, "What did you learn?" Right? Then you answer what you learned. But sometimes you're so tired, you're like, "Bruh,"
I don't even remember.
and he's like, "Fine, we'll go again." You're like, "No, I'm listening now." But it was really dope, and I think that helped foster the environment for me at least to make the decision myself. I think it really pushed me because I was like, okay, cool. Then I gave my life to God sort of like when I was younger, but I did do like a rededication as well, I think around about 16, 17, and then I got baptized. So the whole time my friends like got baptized from like when they were in high school. So some friends that say they were PKs, or others were just whose parents are not pastors, but like they started getting baptized at 14, 15, 16, and I'm there and I'm watching. I'm like, no pressure though. Like my parents never put pressure on me to get baptized.
Yeah.
They were never like,
no,
you
they
must
never
get
did that
baptized.
too. Yeah.
And in faith ministries, as a child you get dedicated. They don't do baptism at birth, but you then do baptism when you are sort of like old enough and you know what's going on and what it means and everything, right? So for me, it then got to a point where I then I think I got baptized at 18. I remember it must have been like January or something, and his mom was like, finally. But like in a nice way, like in a I'm so happy for you type of way. So for me, it was definitely one of those. It was like I really decided to take my time with certain things, and not because I didn't want to, but I also really wanted to understand what I'm committing my life to. Because it's not just I'm gonna get baptized, I'm gonna give my life. It's not just like I'm doing it because you have to, or like cool, it's the right thing to do, but because it's something that I want to do, and God and I are sort of at that level. And I think that sort of brings me to like the whole chat about like, do you think like and it can be like very quick, or like, do you think there's a difference between who you see at home and at church? If you're exposing your ends, small one.
Honestly, no. I can answer that one first. Like, my parents are very much who you see is who you get, and I think I really appreciated that, because even when they held us to a higher standard, it's not like they just switched up on us. Oh, jeez. It's not like they just switched up on us like one day and they were like, okay, now you have to be this person. It was always, okay, you need to know who you are and you need to know how you carry yourself, and when you get into a room, this is like, you're Charmaine Mukrajija, so don't embarrass us, don't do this, don't do that. But no, my parents are very much straightforward, transparent. Like, it's interesting because some people even get like better versions of my parents, because I feel like I got this strict, like super tight parent, but then like when they have like they're counseling with other couples, I always hear different things like, oh my gosh, your dad did this, no, gosh, your mom did, and I'm just like, huh? Like what? But no, what you see is what you get, and I love that. I really always appreciated that about them.
Yeah, my parents are very, they practice what they preach. I've never seen, like, who he is on the pulpit is who he is at home, like my dad, same with my mom. So that's one thing I really appreciated, because I think also, I'm sure we're going to get into that a bit later, what they say about pastors' kids thing. But yeah, I think that's something that some pastors' kids, that people don't understand, that the pastors' kids that kind of act out, maybe it's because they're getting 2 different versions of their parents, and they kind of start going through that confusion where it's like, you know, like,
so it's dope that she said that. We can actually address it now. It's just that like, pastors' children, pastors' kids, you're naughty. Oh my days.
These guys around everyone. Everywhere, in the streets.
There's the keyboard guys in praise worship, but the pastor's children. All those guys who play the keyboard in church, we love and appreciate you guys so much. I know you catch a lot of flack, but you know, and I get that, like in terms of like, I've seen it for myself as well, where I think where there is, and I think it can be different as well, where you see like, let's say like of the 5 of you, like 3 are well behaved and the other 2 are wildin', right? But then perhaps some of it is because how the other 2 sort of were treated when growing up was different from the other 3, for example. Or like situations where you have, and I've had some discussions with some people where like they're not pastors' children per se, but they say like, dude, like my parents at church and out in public, and my parents at home are two different people.
Yeah.
In the sense that like there's like a holier than thou sort of thing.
Absolutely.
But fortunately for me, it has it like the banter you have with my mom at home is the banter that she's having with people like at church.
Yeah.
Like granted, like there is that element of church and home,
Yeah.
but there's no difference. So
Yeah.
I can't. For me, I'm like, oh, my parents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So people are like, I didn't know your dad was so relaxed. I'm like, really, bro?
Yeah.
Like that guy speaks in slang back to us, bro.
Yeah.
Like we'll be at home and be like, bro, I don't know, treat me the no.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, what one are you talking about? And I'm like, dude, can you chill? So it's sort of like, at least
Yeah.
that's sort of nothing.
Yeah. And yeah, my parents are the same, bro. The crazy woman you see at church when she's praying. Here at church.
The prayer
The
warrior.
prayer warrior. Yes.
The
The ones who
same
pray at
person
3
you see
a.m.
back home.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Like at 1 a.m. type of thing.
Yes. 3 a.m.
Like,
Waking up the entire house.
I
I'm
know,
not
I've seen that
checking
TikTok.
out.
Those memes that say like your mom.
And then they come and they anoint you with oil.
Literally. That was my mom, and I'm sure a lot of people.
Have you seen that TikTok where it's like when you pray for a prayer for a wife, and then it's 3 a.m. Oh, in Jesus' name.
Oh my God.
Literally. So that's my mom.
Yeah.
But in terms of being holy and they're the same. Nothing different.
Practice what they preach.
Practice what they preach as well. Yeah.
That's dope. That's
Yeah.
dope. That's good. I think just one of like the biggest things as well is also to remember, and I think this is something that's difficult for, because I think this will come into one of the questions I was asked,
Yeah.
which was how do you navigate and balance seeing your parents as church leaders and as parents at home. It's somewhat similar to address now, but sort of like obviously when like, for example, if you're at home, you're probably gonna be like, dad. But you're probably not gonna punch him like that when you're like at church.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So
Yeah.
how do you sort of navigate between like like the playfulness that you have with your parents at home, and like not that you cuss your parents, but like you can tease each other. I don't know if you have that kind of relationship with your parents, right?
Yeah.
But like I can tease my mom in a playful way, or like my dad in a playful way, and I may not say the exact same stuff or like behave the same at church, and not because I know they'll be like calm if I was to do it at church, but I also do realize how other people see them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Is that sort of a similar vibe to you guys, or how do you navigate that space?
I think, well, I'm sure, I don't know how it was for you guys, but being a pastor, they lived with a lot of people. So I grew up living with a lot of people. So they're very open, so it depends who we are around. If it's people that know that I can be like that with my parents, or people we've lived with before, or people that are generally around us, then I can be like that. But I think also you kind of just, it's like when you're doing your thing, people have to respect that Marco's now doing his thing.
Okay.
So when my dad is now in his element, and like he's about to go on stage,
He can't come to a studio and be like,
You can't go
he can't be
like,
coming to you at like the studio and be like, hey, and you're mid.
and I'm out here trying to do my eyebrows, and you're doing no. So when you have to respect someone when they're in their element, obviously. So, but I am really cool with my dad. I think same even with my mom. My mom is more of like the outgoing type of personality and character.
Sorry, it's just so funny because I'm trying to picture her go, Owen, come back, and her dad is like getting ready to cast out demons. They're like, Owen. It's like,
No, you can't
No,
do
you
that.
can't. You cannot.
we're about to.
Yeah, so I think it's mainly about like when he's in his element, I just respect that that's what he's doing. But when he's done, like he's off the stage now, we're cool. Like he's pretty chilled. My dad's pretty chilled. Like people are always like, what do you and your dad even talk about? Because people see him as this like serious person who's so like, but even
All
on
the
stage
time.
he like jokes and laughs.
Yeah.
So I don't know why people didn't think he's so like, but I think now his personality is coming out a bit more, because I think it's different like when you're the person who's starting the church. I think you would have seen it all, been through it all, so you've just got this really tough exterior. But now because the ministry is definitely more settled and established, and it's coming up now, he's got a lot of help, a lot of people around him that help him in what he does. So he's now letting loose now, and he's also like, So I think it also depends, I guess,
That's dope.
on the responsibilities and
That's really cool.
I think, like you said, I like the whole respect is still there, and I think that's the one thing that I've always had to tell myself, like just respect them in whatever space they're in. I think for me growing up, I had to actually start learning certain things now in college because they were so strict. I used to respect them too much at home and too much at church and too much everywhere. But then I never really had that, oh, okay, we can actually talk about certain things. So like now, like in college, like I've had moments where I'm really struggling and I don't know who to turn to, and obviously like I have to call them because they're like, I'm not gonna go turn to my friends because they don't know what I'm going through. And when I then call them, like I'm always thinking I'm gonna get this strict, oh, why did you do that? Like, why did you not, like, and then, but like I always get a different version of them, and they will pray with me, they'll cry with me, they'll be the friends that I needed like when I was a kid, but now it's that right now.
That's
so
amazing.
I think the great thing is just unlearning that, okay, like now they're maturing in the role that they have, like they've now settled down a bit more. My parents are very chilled, so yeah.
To be honest, I think they've answered it perfectly. Not much I have to say.
No, that's cool. I think even for me as well, it's just sort of like, I think the older that I got, I then realized they're also like people.
Yeah.
And I never didn't see them as people. I always saw them as people.
Yeah.
So that you realize as well that, and I think this has more to do with them being as parents than them being pastors, that they're also people.
Yeah.
So, and I think, like you said, a lot of people forget that pastors are people.
Our people, they're people as well. Yeah.
We
you're
are
learning
also
too.
people,
Yeah.
So as much as like, I think a lot of the times we expect our leaders, and not even just pastors, but let's say for example, when you're at school, you expect your headmaster to be the most perfect person on the planet because they are the headmaster. So when they make a mistake, like, how did they do that? And you're like, no, you forget that, they're also learning, they're also a person. And I think that's something that I have been learning as a child as well. It's like, my parents are also just parents. Like, and now that I'm at this age, I'm like, how would I have to raising a human? What? So for me, it's always been, they've always been really cool, very chilled, approachable, and it's always been chilled vibe. So navigating the difference between them at home and at church for me has always been easy because they've been the same person the whole time. So it hasn't been too much of a grind. I think the sort of like, I think one of the last things I'll probably touch upon is, would you, okay, so you guys have all said you're Christians, we've all heard your experiences in terms of like growing up and what you've seen them go through and all of this stuff. Would you be,
Pastor?
I think two things actually.
Okay.
Sorry, two things. Would you become part of like ministry work? So would you, first you'd quick one, yes or no? Would you be a pastor?
Yes, I would. I feel like being a pastor is.
Hands quick one.
Yeah.
Oh, no, rounded zero, dog.
Not bad. No, yeah.
You would?
Yeah, I guess so.
You feel like?
I feel like, isn't it a calling, isn't it?
It is.
That's what I was saying.
It's not like you wake up and choose.
I feel like I'm gonna be like, yes, no, nah. I feel like it's more of a calling, so.
So if he does call.
If he does call, Oscar, I'm not gonna say.
You're not gonna say.
Say no.
When Jesus says, nobody can say no. When Jesus says, that's such a banger. I'm gonna go listen after this.
But to say, to be involved in the ministry work, yes, I would. Yeah,
you would.
That would be like an active choice. Yes, I would.
Okay.
Ministry work 100%. Pastor, I don't know, honestly.
Man, I sense.
No, please.
I sense.
Don't be sensitive.
My hands.
No, it's okay.
No, Auntie, please. If God calls you, you're finna go.
Yeah.
But like for now, you're involved in ministry work, yes? No.
Yeah, I am.
Okay. What do you do?
Okay, so I think I took a bit longer to understand like my place in ministry, but right now I like building the work of God. So I'm in a couple of like finance departments, like those like free will giving type of things where so at our church we call it gatekeepers. So these are people that willingly, like, we've got contributions, subscriptions, and we like buy things for the church. So we make sure the church has instruments, things for decor, I don't know, like a lot of stuff basically. So I'm in that, and then we recently started a beauty department.
Come on!
And it works closely with hospitality and the media team. So we do like the preacher's makeup and get them looking all great before they go on stage and do their thing, you know, casting out demons looking great.
Wow.
You know the vibes, yeah. So
You don't need to look like you're sweating.
Yeah.
Easy things. You get out.
Matte foundation.
Yeah. You get out.
Cleanser, yes.
So right now that's where I'm at right now. And then like
Okay.
generally, like at church, people can just ask you like every once in a while, like because you said we're in assemblies, right? So at church they can even just be like, you take the offering this week, you are preaching this week. So small assignments like that. But like my main thing, I really love like supporting the work of God. So just contributing where I can, and then the beauty department that we recently introduced.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Do you guys, what are you currently doing in terms of serving, if you are? It's not that you should be. You're not.
You know.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Post-COVID, I was going to Transformation Church, but once COVID happened, like a lot of restructuring happened. So I was in the creative department, but now I'm at Battle Creek Church and I have a community group. So I basically just help out like girls. That's always been my thing, ministry with
Her
women.
proverb. You guys should
Her
check it
proverb,
out.
yes, check it out.
We might talk about it one of these days. I don't know.
Well,
We'll see.
have a whole girls
Yeah,
group.
and I'll be the only one.
Yeah, that'll be fun. We should do it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like,
I'll do my makeup.
okay.
For the episode, because I think
We'll hook you up. We got you. We have an amazing makeup artist right here. Yes, for recruiting.
Okay, that's dope. That's really dope. I think for me, it's just like, well, serve with the youth. I've been enjoying that.
Uncle
Marco. Yeah, Uncle Marco.
Oh.
So I'm Marco here, but other like teenagers call me Uncle Marco, which is really weird.
Yeah.
But it's
That's
dope.
cool.
The youth group at our church is called the Holy Nightclub.
Oh.
Yeah, HNC,
Okay.
the Holy Nightclub,
Nice.
because we feel like a club because it's like a community type feeling,
Okay.
and it happens at night, and we are seeking to be holy and the presence of the Lord. So the
Amen.
Holy
Yes,
Nightclub.
Holy Nightclub.
Isazofungezwa kawanda
Yeah,
wanda.
we're not getting to.
Yeah, don't start hey nightclub, hey church, yeah. No, it's about the Lord.
Okay.
And lastly, and this was a question that came through, was your friends, picking your friends, choosing your friends. Do your parents play a big role in that? And also the gender. Has gender been a chat for you guys where it's like, hey, you're gonna have male friends, you're gonna have female friends, or what has that been like? We don't need to talk about your dating life, but
private.
we're gonna talk about relationships in another episode.
Okay.
That's coming
Keep that
soon.
private.
Hey.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, go ahead.
My parents don't pick my friends for me. I pick my friends for myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
But
And I pick my own friends.
No, but like
Must be nice.
they are very vocal. Like I
Yeah.
give them the room as well to be vocal. So it's not like they're intrusive.
Mhm.
I actually want to know their opinions and stuff. So they make sure to let me know when they don't trust a specific friend.
Yeah.
And they're actually right all the time. Like
Yo.
every time
Wow.
they're
Shout
like
Connected with the Holy Spirit.
The
man.
You know,
Totally.
yeah.
Wow.
the friends that I'm actually
Discernment,
scared
I see, yeah.
to introduce them to are usually the friends they love. Because maybe you'll be looking at like the exterior of that
Yeah.
friend and
Introduce
thinking, no, I haven't.
It's tough.
I'm sorry. One
That's
day.
okay.
soon.
That's
Like
fine.
maybe I'll have a friend who's got a lot of piercings, or you know, guys with like dreadlocks or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then I'll be like scared, and then they'll be, that's a good man, right?
Wow.
And then I'll introduce some innocent-looking girl to them, like this is precious, or I don't know, right?
Yeah.
And they'll be like, we don't like precious. Like not that they
spirit of
don't like it,
discernment.
there's something there, and they're
Yeah.
always right. So
Yeah.
I think I usually I always like to introduce my parents to my friends because it makes also just life easier. Like if I
Yeah.
want to go somewhere and
Yeah.
I don't have to start. But yeah, with guys specifically, it depends.
Mhm.
Like I was, I don't have a lot of guy friends. I think I've got like recently Marco, now Lemmy.
I was about to get that. I was like, whoa, I'm waiting. I'm joking, yeah.
But okay, I generally do not hang around guys because I've been watching Steve Harvey a lot, and he always
He says
says
he
guys
doesn't have-
are your friend for one reason and one reason only. And I think most of the time.
Steve Harvey, listen, personally, I feel like after how is Lori, I'm like, listen, I'm gonna take what you say with a pinch of salt, bro.
Fam.
No, but generally it's true.
Yeah, I will not go into
Turn
that.
your own mind.
You can't even
my
back Lori,
personal-
But she's
Period.
outsmarted
Oh.
the game. If you
She
ask
has.
her. Yes,
She has.
has.
I'm not gonna doubt. She has.
Yes.
It's dope.
And her
I know.
father's amazing.
No.
He's
Yes.
given her the advice. too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
No,
what I'm saying.
but this recent one was so disappointing.
So
'cause it's
disappointing.
Like,
Yeah, I
there's
don't know
some
it's
people
down
you
bad
just
for
can't
that.
But now,
imagine
are you
in
hearing
what-
rumors that he actually cheated? Like, so it's like the media always has a different perspective. But
I heard he proposed and she was like, I'm
That's
That's
what I heard
that's
as
what
well.
that's what.
Yeah.
I just anyway.
The guy's
I'm a
like
very
36,
big Lori Harvey fan, so I always have to.
Why
fact
do you
check.
guys know
I have
these
to-
things
I
about
have
the
to-
world?
I have to
You
fact
must
check.
think about heavenly things, not worldly things, for they shall not take you to heaven.
It's so interesting because when I think of like celebrities
Yeah.
in general, like I see Sarah Jakes and then I see Lori Harvey, and I feel like my parents were dead smack like in the middle of it. Like we had like Bishop Jakes, where it was like when you went to church, but then you have like Steve Harvey, but my dad is a clown and he's just like super
He's
chill,
playful,
and he will
yeah.
always give you advice about guys. Like in a
Yeah.
house full of girls, he has to give us the advice that we need to
Yeah.
hear.
It's true.
So yeah.
I think for me, my personal experience is that yes, most of the guys I was friends with always eventually wanted more, and I'd
Yeah.
always be like, so I think
So-
I'm very selective. I'm
No
very
time you got?
selective.
Yeah, it makes
But if my
sense.
parents like meet you and they see you're cool, and they also have to understand how did the relationship come about. Like for example, in high school I was like the sports prefect, so I worked closely with the male sports prefect. So we were always planning sports things together, fixtures and all of that stuff. So if I introduced him to my mom and be like, oh, his name was Jeffrey. Oh, mom, this is Jeff. We work together at the sports department.
Yeah.
For them it's chill. But if I came with Marco who went to John's, Makawanana say,
Yeah.
yeah, John's, you know, like it's a bit, and they
Marco
don't-
was looking for danger. Marco was looking for danger. Then we ended up being friends. You just did that.
But now
Ah,
it's
I'm joking.
easier because I told her, oh
Yeah.
no, Marco invited me for a podcast. You wanna go fundies?
Yeah.
So she'd be like, okay. So it really depends. Also, there's that whole generation gap thing.
Yeah.
Where they don't understand. We had Interact. We had so many things.
We,
that
our
the
school
way you
sang
can,
with
like,
Arundel for
inter-schools,
choir.
yeah.
Like that was the thing, yeah.
Toastmasters, all that stuff. So
Yeah.
you can always just.
I'm joking.
Just-
Hey, look, I'm
anyway.
joking.
You have
I'm
so
joking.
many
You
things where
guys
you could
please
meet
understand.
someone, and
Yeah.
so yeah, that's just. But they're not that bad. But they'll be sure to make it vocal. If
Okay.
there's
But it's
someone-
because you've given them the
Yeah, I've given them
That's
those.
dope.
But even without the room shot.
And for you guys?
Yeah.
I think for relationships, like my parents were always like pretty cool with me having guy friends. I even used to have like birthday parties and guys would come over. Like that was very normal. I think until I was maybe 14, that's when like guys weren't allowed to sleep over. Like I'd have sleepovers where like guys would
Oh,
actually,
snap.
which is crazy.
Yeah.
But then the minute like dating came into the picture and it was high school, it was like an X, like a very big X.
Yeah.
Especially to having a relationship. I still had my guy friends like in the brook. You're always walking around and you just like go to someone's house and Ningi's house and you're always friends with so many people. And I think majority of my core friends right now are actually guys, which is pretty interesting,
Yeah.
especially here in Sim. But my parents were never worried. They were never concerned about that. It was always the guys who had other intentions that they would be like, okay, this one, can you just like
Komaningi.
yeah,
Yeah.
just like push into the side. And
Mm.
it's weird because every guy that I dated in high school always felt the need to go tell my parents that we were dating.
Oh my days.
And I
That's the oh my days.
Go to your parents.
to go to my parents.
It's like
Which
leave
is
my
so
parents
weird
alone,
to me.
dog.
But
Which one's the
it's so weird that like the minute that they would, like that was the last I like the relationship would ever last.
Your parents, you know what would happen? They would like introduce themselves. Your parents would be like, Heavenly Father, we bring this boy. Like he's not the one guy in the Mwana. Tomorrow he must go.
No, my dad would always tell them like you need to wait until she's done with high school and all that. But like I
They're
feel like
Jack.
yeah.
We ain't waiting
Would
that
they tell
long.
you they're going? Would they tell you?
Yeah, and I'd literally always talk them out of it, but somehow
I'd leave you just going.
Ah,
No,
that's
trust me, the
cool.
moments I wanted to,
That's
but
cool. That's the only just for that.
Yeah.
You're out. Yeah.
yeah.
And for you, Levi?
Oh yeah, my parents have been super chill with me. I know. Like I said, I'm the last born, so I think my older brother, he kind of loosened them up to a lot of things. You know, even girls, and friends in general. When it comes to like discerning which friend is right and not and wrong, yeah, I mean they weren't really too involved in like which friends I had.
Just get that prayer.
Just get
Father,
Yeah.
yeah. You make sure that
Literally.
they find the right. No, I get you. I think
But-
for me as well.
yeah.
Wait, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, but like now, you know, as we've grown up and you know, people's characters are more apparent.
Yeah.
You know, like only the black, only the black, or you know, kind of.
Yeah.
They've kind of been like saying like, oh, no, homie, like how far. But when it comes to like choosing my friends now,
Alright, cool. Yeah, I think for me, I was always just given the room to pick my friends, and our house has always been open, so like friends really could just come over at any point in time. Like I could actually not be home and like homies can come over.
Literally.
And it was one of those, yeah, auntie literally, because he's one of
Literally,
those
come on,
people
is that
just, no one like I think this past week I've just seen his car there. I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
cool. But like it's one of those things where like our house has always been open to friends of ours, for myself or my siblings. So it's always been chilled, and in terms of like the gender thing, like it's also been chilled in general as well.
Yeah.
So when we grew up, like my mom and dad's friends, they had children same age as us. So we literally had birthday parties together, everything together, both male and female. And so they would come over, we'd go there. So it was always chilled. But sleepovers with girls, that never, for us personally, that wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
But like, even the older that you get, like, you know, when you're like, oh, I'm interested in Yingi, like they're very cool with that. Where like, I've been talking to a girl, this is you describe the person, it's like, cool. And if they meet that person, it's like, oh, okay, cool, oh, she seems nice, cool. Like, so there's no pressure about, so where you taking it? Oh, like, it's been very chilled. So for, at least, it seems like there hasn't been like a big, like, oh, don't talk to girls or these guys. But, you know, you will talk to like your parents, and they're like, you know, I think if you do ask for advice and stuff, they'll give you, for sure.
So you actually have that relationship where you can tell them, I like this girl.
Oh yeah.
Okay, with guys,
Yeah, I think with guys.
Yeah.
big
I think
time.
it's a lot easier for guys.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like I remember graduation day, like that's when my parents got introduced to the person that
Live.
I was so stressed, like you don't even
You already have
understand.
graduation to
Like
do.
yeah,
Now
and then I have to deal with this
situation.
and like even just the introduction of this is
Oh
and
my
it's like,
days, that's deep, bro.
yeah, I
That is
know.
actually
Like
so deep.
it's so hard for a girl. Honestly,
Yeah.
for guys
It's so, because for us,
Yeah.
like, we court.
No, that's a
So, like,
that's a
no,
true quarter.
no. It's like, you don't come shoot your shot at me directly.
yeah.
I see.
Which is why I say like older
Yeah.
guys always felt the need to go ask my parents.
So my rents might even know who this guy is before I even know who he is, because he doesn't go to my parents per se, he goes to his own personal pastors, but because my parents are like the pastors.
So let's say like Lemmy was keen.
I have
He's not.
to.
He's no. Lemmy's not keen. I 100% promise he's not.
He'll go to his
But for argument's sake,
Yeah.
he'll go to his personal pastor.
Then
Then
he'll go to your dad.
then they'll go to
that
your dad and be
pastor
like,
will
go
then
away.
do the then they'll just ask me like, are you interested in meeting?
They ain't tune Jack.
Then yes.
Then
but
they
no.
have to go tune
Wait,
Lemmy
wait,
Jack.
wait.
Yeah,
So-
Jay.
Wait, so literally, like now,
Yeah.
would you basically say that you have like options really lined up? Like they literally just come and say, hey, there's this one, there's this one, there's this one.
No, like it's,
Wait,
That's dope.
Yay!
She has a whole catalog.
I'm
Okay,
A
this
to
one-
Z. Anna D.
Instagram page, all of
Benjamin.
it.
Exactly. With the Instagram, the Facebook, the TikTok,
Bro.
just the
And then she- and then
LinkedIn,
she
just
just
the
there-
legit.
and she just there saying, yeah. No.
It's like, I don't like
if
the
you
way
say
that his
yes,
face looks.
no.
He doesn't, you know, for me, his
It's that
job
whole-
is not quite it.
It's not
Bro,
good job.
that's
Literally, you don't serve in church. That's a no for me.
You don't pay your tithe.
You lost pay tax 3 months ago.
The records show.
I know they'll ask you like when guys do start coming,
Yeah.
it's like they first have like a conversation with you. It's just like where are you at right now in life? Like are you even open to relationships? Do you even want? Is that something you want? If you say no, then they just leave you alone for a bit. If you say yes, then I think that's when they'll start telling you like, okay, there's this person.
So
and
to
if
go
you
on
are
dates with
interested-
like some of the pastors as well.
I know they give you guys.
I feel like we need to bring you onto we're gonna do an episode on relationships. Victory is coming back
That
with
would
an
be so-
episode very
yeah.
evidently.
yeah.
Oh sorry. Would you like to come for the
Yes.
episode?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, cool.
No, pastors don't go on dates with you. I think that's an extreme that
That was
Because
too
some
much.
churches do the thing called masofa. I think
Yeah,
that's
that's
Zayoja,
masofa.
I think.
we are
You're-
very like my dad was actually a pastor at Zayoja before he started.
Oh,
this.
shut up.
What's
So-
my sofa?
So it's sort of like this thing where, and you can correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
but like you go to I think the two of you go to like the pastor and you're like, hey, we would like to see where this will go.
You too?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
you
then
have
you
to
sort
know.
of walk through your relationship
Okay.
with
The pastor.
pastors. Yeah, like with the
Yeah.
pastors, and then
We
they
do that
they
once,
sort of
like we
You're
don't
ready
go
to marry.
yeah. So we don't go together at first. Like,
Okay.
we're assuming we don't even know each other yet. Like, we know each other, but we're not in a
They,
relationship
they,
yet.
they link you together, right?
Now, no, they
Okay.
don't choose. But like, you have the freedom to be like, no, yes.
Yeah, no, you definitely do. But, yeah.
once you decide kuti yes,
Uh-huh.
they do work with you through your relationship.
Okay,
and
like
stuff. So you
from
go
the
for
start of the
counseling
relationship.
From the start, the
Yeah.
minute you say I like this guy. But obviously, I've never
she
heard
in a
of
date,
anyone
she's
who
fresh.
says yes straight
Then-
away.
Oh,
That's
peak.
intense.
I think that's gonna make that episode very interesting. Anyway, guys, this has been an episode on growing up as pastors' children, and thank you so much for watching and listening. Please make sure to follow T Middle O Podcast on Instagram and on Facebook. You can also the episode is on YouTube. If you are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or any streaming service, please make sure to give it a rating. If you're watching, please like, comment, and subscribe. And please do follow all of these people. Their IG handles are going to be
Put
on the...
over here.
Hi, stop
Right
putting
here.
pressure.
You don't do
What
that.
if I want to know this? Don't be out here
Over
telling
here.
people where to put your handles,
Yeah.
okay?
Oh
Such your
my goodness.
podcast.
Oh my
Hi.
Hey,
No, I'm playing. But thank you so much. We will catch you in the next episode. This has been an episode of Being a Pastor's Children. Thanks, Lemmy, Charmaine, Victory,
Welcome.
Namako, and catch you in the next episode. Cheers.
Yes.